ready for a deep dive into a fandom that's truly taking the world by storm.
Let's do it.
Today, we are exploring the world of boys' love, BL for those in the know.
And we are going to unpack exactly why this genre is resonating with so many people.
It's everywhere, right?
It really is. I mean, you can see it everywhere you turn.
And we are going to talk about how it's impacting media and, even some of the criticisms it's facing because, like with anything, when something gets this popular...
Of course, there are going to be some growing pains.
Exactly. So before we really get into it, I think it would be helpful to kind of set the scene. Talk about the fandom itself, because the BL fandom is incredibly active. Would you say that's a fair assessment?
Absolutely. It is incredibly active, very diverse. And I think what's really interesting about it is that it's not just about passively consuming content. They're creating.
Yeah.
They are discussing. They are shaping the genre in some really fascinating ways.
It's so interesting. So we're talking fan art, we're talking fan fiction. Where are some of the places that people are seeing this?
Oh, everywhere. You see it on Twitter, people making videos, TikTok going viral. You've got fan fiction just blowing up on sites like Wattpad, dedicated forums where they just dissect every little detail. It's really incredible.
Wow. So it's really like a whole other world.
Absolutely. And it's very meta in a lot of ways, too.
Yeah. Okay, so we have to talk about shipping because that seems to be a really big part of this.
Huge.
For people who might not know, can you just explain briefly what shipping is?
Yeah, so shipping is basically when fans become really invested in a particular romantic pairing, whether or not it's canon in the original story, and they really champion that pairing. And sometimes, it's just kind of like a fun, what if this happened? But sometimes it gets really intense.
Oh, I bet.
And it's actually really interesting to see how it plays out.
I feel like people can get very passionate about the pairings they love.
Absolutely. And it's fascinating to see them analyzing the characters, the dynamics, and creating these elaborate narratives around these relationships.
So in a way, are you saying that they kind of become collaborators in a way?
Absolutely. In a way, yeah, they're adding to this whole universe, and sometimes they even influence the actual storylines.
Whoa. No way. Really?
Yeah. There was this one series where the fans were really drawn to the chemistry between two secondary characters.
Okay.
And the creators, they noticed. They saw all the fan art, the videos, all these discussions online, and they actually ended up incorporating that storyline into the next season.
Wow.
Because they saw that the fans were so invested.
That's amazing. So they really do have power.
They do.
That's incredible. So I think we've established that this is a fandom that knows what it wants and isn't afraid to, go after it.
Exactly.
But let's talk about, why BL? Why this genre? What is it that's attracting so many people?
Well, when you look at what the fans are saying, a lot of it comes down to those really universal themes of love and acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, BL often explores relationships, diverse relationships, dynamics, in a way that you don't always see in more mainstream media. And it challenges those traditional notions of romance.
So it's like a breath of fresh air in a way.
Exactly. And for many fans, particularly those who identify as LGBTQ plus say, they've shared how BL has helped them to feel seen, understood even.
Yeah.
And that representation, seeing yourself reflected in a story, can be incredibly powerful.
Especially if you're, if you haven't had a lot of positive representation.
Exactly.
So this is something we see often.
Right.
Like with different fandoms.
Absolutely.
Where they really grab onto something and it's because they haven't been seeing themselves represented. And then it's almost like it can be a very powerful thing, I think, for a lot of people.
For sure. And I think that's a big part of the appeal here.
Okay. So BL definitely making a splash on a personal level for a lot of fans. But its influence goes way beyond that. I mean, are we seeing more BL content popping up on, streaming services, things like that?
Absolutely. And that's the other fascinating thing. This surge in popularity is directly related to all the fandom activity we're talking about.
Okay.
All the fan videos, all the fan art, all the discussion online generates so much buzz. And major streaming platforms like Netflix, YouTube, Viki, they recognize that demand.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Right. So they start adding more BL to their libraries.
Okay.
Which in turn leads to even more fans discovering the genre. It's really a snowball effect.
Wow. So in a way, you're saying that the fans kind of drive this.
They really do.
That's pretty cool.
And that's why I think it's so interesting. It started in a very niche community, and now it's everywhere.
So what does this mean for the future of BL? I mean, we've talked about, what's happening now. Where do we see this going?
Well, it's a really interesting question. I mean, BL, like any genre, it does face criticism.
Right.
Right.
What are some of the, I guess, criticisms?
I mean, there are concerns about sometimes unrealistic portrayal of relationships
Okay.
and also just the potential for fetishization.
So how is the BL community responding to that?
It's actually been really encouraging because they are engaging with these criticisms.
Yeah.
And you see this push for more diverse storytelling, more authentic LGBTQ plus representation,
Okay.
moving beyond just those kind of like stereotypical tropes.
Yeah.
And the fans are using their voices. They're advocating for the kinds of stories they want to see.
Right.
And it seems like the creators, they are listening.
It's interesting. It's like they're almost, the fans, because they are so passionate, because they are creating things, because they are, really invested, they're almost like, I don't know, like co-showrunners in a way.
In a way, yeah. And I think that's what's really interesting is that the future of BL isn't just in the hands of the creators. It's really being shaped by this incredibly passionate global fan base.
So it really makes you wonder, if a dedicated fandom can have this much influence, what could this mean for like the future of media as a whole? It's like, could this be a model for how, I don't know, how niche interests can advocate for like greater representation, more creative expression in the mainstream media? Just something to think about.
Absolutely.